Salvete omnes. This is Abbey Latin Liber Primus, chapter 18. This is exercise A of chapter 18. And first thing we're going to do is skip to number 4, Yakio, Yakare, Yeki, Yaktus. We're to synopsize this verb in the first person plural, giving the Latin active voice for the present, imperfect, future, perfect, pluperfect, future perfect, as well as the imperative, singular and plural, as well as the English active voice translation, and the Latin passive voice and the English translation of those forms. The verb in English, yakio, yakare, yeki, yaktus, means to throw. So we want to say the principal parts. I want to throw, I past tense threw, and the participle I have thrown. Throw, threw, thrown. In Latin, yakio, yakare, yeki, yaktus. It is a third IO conjugation verb. Yakio, yakare, yeki, yaktus. It's got that EO for its first principal part. Second principal part has an ere, a short E, RE. Third principal part, like all the others, ends in the letter I, pronounced E. And fourth principal part ends in an us, treated like an adjective, us a yaktus a So the present stem of a third IO is found the exact same way as a third conjugation. Chop the O off of the first principal part, you get the present stem yaki. If your present stem ends in an I, you know you have a third IO, because if you chop the O off the first principal part, you should always end in the letter I. So yaki is the stem. We're going to put that stem as the base for the present, the imperfect, and the future, active, and the passive. And there you go. Now the perfect stem is going to be the third principal part minus the letter I. So take yeki, chop off the I, and you get yek. We're going to put that down here when we get to it. And the fourth principal part, yaktus, treated like a participle, yaktus a but make sure it's plural, yakti I a. We're going to put that here when we get to it. But first, let's deal with the present, the imperfect, and the future, because those are the most difficult and weirdest of this form. The perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect is formed the same as every other verb you've met in the active and in the passive. So anyway, back to the present. So yaki, first person plural. O-S-T, mus, first person plural, mus, we, mus tison. So we want mus. And you can just add mus. You don't need to add anything extra, just mus. Yakimus. Translate, we throw. We are throwing, we do throw. The verb means to throw. Yakimus, first person plural, we do it. Exchange that active voice personal ending mus from ost, mus tis und, to the passive restor, more miniuntor. So we want more as the passive of mus. So here we are doing the action, we are doing the throwing, we throw. In the passive, we are the ones who are being thrown. We get thrown. We are thrown. We are being thrown. The being is slightly important here, Ben. You know who you are, Ben. The imperfect. You can add an E before the ba, E before the ba, and then the personal ending mus. So we get yakiebamos, yakiebamos. And in English, we were throwing. We used to throw. Passive does the same thing. Add an E before the ba, except exchange this active mus personal ending for the passive more to get yakiebamor. Yakiebamor. Translated, we were being thrown. And the being is very important here, Ben. You have to put the being. Do you hear me? Put the being, Ben. For the future active, just like the third conjugation, do not use bo, bis, bit for the future. You want to use those es, et, amos, atis, ent endings. So first person plural, es, et, amos, atis, ent, amos. So yakiemos, yakiemos. This E is long. There should be a macron on it. Yakiemos, so the accent goes there. We will throw. We will be doing the throwing. In the passive, exchange these active endings, es, et, emus, etis, ent, with the passive ar, eris, etor, emor, emini, entor, yaciemor, yaciemor. Active, yaciemus, we will throw. Passive, yaciemor, we will be thrown. Now the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect active, that uses the yek perfect stem, third principal part, chop off the I, just like every other verb you've met. And then the passive uses the fourth principal part, yaktus a but make sure it's plural, because our person is plural, to get yakti I a for the masculine, the feminine, and neuter. So yakti for masculine, yaktai for feminine, and yakta for neuter. Then we're going to add the helping verbs to tell you which tense. So the perfect active, first person plural, the endings are I isti it, imus istis erunt, I isti it, imus istis erunt. So yekimus, we threw, or we have thrown. Both translations are valid and in play. For the passive, yakti, I, a, the perfect passive uses the present tense of sum as its helping verb. So sum es est, sumus estis sunt, sum es est, sumus estis sunt. So to get yakti, I, a, sumus. Now in a text you would see yakti sumus for masculine, yaktai sumus for feminine, and yakta sumus for neuter. We translate that as we were thrown, or we have been thrown. And then masculine, feminine, and neuter. This is like a participle. Pluperfect active, the endings are eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratis, erant, which is like the imperfect of sum. So we have eramus, yek eramus, we had thrown. Then the pluperfect uses the imperfect of sum as its helping verb, so you can just take eramus as the helping verb to get yakti, I, a, eramus. Yakti, eramus, yaktai, eramus, yakta, eramus. For we had been thrown. It'll be yakti, eramus if it's males who are the we that have been thrown. Yaktai, eramus if it's females, we had been thrown. And then yakta eramus for any neuter, who are the we that had been thrown. Poor guys. Future perfect. We use the future, slightly modified, of sum as a ending. Ero, eris, erit, eremus, eritis, erit. So that again is ero, eris, erit, eremus, eritis, erint. Yakerimus, we will have thrown. Passive, we're just going to use that as the helping verb, erimus. The future of sum, that is ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis, erunt. Erunt is the third person plural, but erimus is the first person plural, and that's what we're dealing with now. Yakti erimus, yaktai erimus, and yakta erimus. We will have been thrown. Optime, to form the imperatives. The imperative singular is the second principal part. Chop off the re to get yake. Throw, thou, singular throw. You're ordering one person to throw. In the passive, just add that re back on. It is the exact same as the second principal part. Yakare, be thrown, thou. Come on, you second person singular. You're just sitting there. Get thrown. To form the imperative plural active, take the present stem yaki and then add te to get yakite. Throw, ye. You're ordering more than one person to throw. Yakite. Then the passive is yakimini. Present stem plus mini. Yakimini. Be thrown, ye. Come on, be thrown, ye. You're just sitting there. Optime, that is number 4. The first person plural we form. We for yakio, yakare, yeki, yaktus. Now we're going to jump back in time to number 1, capio, capere, capi, captus. To take, took, taken. I want to take. I took, I have taken. All right, for the first person singular, first identify what conjugation is Capio. Capio is a third IO. It is a third IO. Its first principal part ends in IO, pronounced Capio. Second principal part ends in a short ERE, capere, accent on the A, capere. Third principal part ends the letter I, pronounced E. And then fourth principal part ends in us. It can also end in It's like an adjective. It's a participle. Us a so captus a The present stem of a third IO conjugation is found the exact same way as a third conjugation. You go to the first principal part and chop off the O. This is different from a first or second conjugation where we chopped off the RE from the second principal part. Don't do that here. Go to the first principal part and chop off the O to get the present stem copy. You want to write copy for the present imperfect and future, active and passive. But keep in mind, if you have a first person singular like we do here, go ahead and write the first principal part capio for the present active and the Latin passive. Go ahead and do that. Capio and capio. For the present tense active voice, capio, that's fine. Just keep it there. That's its only job, is to be the first person singular present, capio. Translate, ends in O, O-S-T, mustis, O-S-T, mustis und. So we have I verb, I take, I am taking, I do take. For the passive, subject is now no longer doing the action, but is being acted upon. To show this, just add the r from the passive personal endings res, tur, mor, many, untur. Add the r, the r to capio to get capior, capior, C-A-P-I-O-R, capior. I am taken. I am being taken. The being is semi-important here, Ben. You don't have to have it, but it's nice to have. I am being taken. The action, the taking, is happening to me, I, the subject. For the imperfect, you should have written down copy, the present stem copy. Add the letter E to get copie, E before the ba, copie ba, and then, because it's first person singular, add the from the O, and then st, mustis, sunt, copie bomb, copie bomb. I was taking, I used to take. The passive, it's the same, except switch out the first person singular M from copie bomb and make it the R, copie bar, copie bar. I was being taken. The being is very important here, Ben. I was being taken. Future, no bo bis bit here. That's only for first and second conjugation. The future here uses the endings s, et, emus, etus, and. Because we're dealing with the first person singular, Copy is the present stem, first principal part, chop off the O, copy, then that copiam, copiam. I will take, I shall take. Passive, exchange the from copiam with ar, ar, copiar. The endings are ar, eris, ator, amor, amini, antor. Copiar, copiar. I will be taken, I will be taken. For the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect active, we want the perfect stem, which third principal part, chop off the I, kep, C-E-P. So write kep here, and kep here, and kep here. For the passive, fourth principal part, coptus Do we need to make it plural? No, because we're dealing with the first person singular. So keep it coptus and write coptus here, here, and here for the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect passive. Coptus If it were plural, we would write copti but it's singular. Okay, here we go. Perfect active. The perfect endings are isti it, imus istis erunt. So letter I, capi. So capi, just as it is here, write it down here. Capi, I took, I have taken. That goes here, both of those. I took, I have taken. Both of those are perfect in Latin. For the passive, captus a and then the perfect passive uses the present of sum as its helping verb. Sum es est, sumus estis sunt. So we want sum. Captus a sum for captus sum, capta sum, and captum sum. And translated into English, I was taken. I have been taken, with the gender of captus on a and switching depending on the gender of I. Pluperfect active, you have kep, cep, and then add the ending eram, eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratis, erat. Keperam, I had taken, I had taken. Passive, captus a and the helping verb is eram, from the imperfect of sum. Eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratis, erat, which is added as an ending to the perfect stem to get the pluperfect active. The translation of the pluperfect passive, captus a eram, would be I had been taken. Future perfect active is kep, the perfect stem kep, and then add ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis, erint. You want kepero, ero, kepero, kepero. I will have taken. Latin passive, captus a and the helping verb is ero, from ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis, erunt, which is the future of sum. Captus a ero. I will have been taken. I will have been taken. The imperatives are, imperative singular, take the second principal part, chop off the re, you get cape, looks like cape. Take, thou. Take, come on, you singular person. Passive, you add the re back on to get the second principal part, capere. Capere goes here. Be taken, thou. Come on, get taken. You're just sitting there. For the imperative plural, you take the present stem copy, first principal part, chop off the o, copy, and add te, copite, copite. Take ye. Come on, guys, take. And the passive adds mini to the present stem, copimini, copimini. Be taken, ye. Come on, guys, get taken. Optime, that was number one. Now for number two, Acipio, second person singular. So you, thou, second person singular, singular you. We have Acipio, Acipere, Acapi, Acaptus. This is, like number one, Capio, Capere, Capi, Captus, just prefix with odd, and the D became a C due to odd assimilation. So acipio, acipere, acapi, acaptus means to take towards oneself or to receive. Receive. So I want to receive, I received, I have received. Second person singular, you. So pay especially close attention to this one. For the present imperfect and future, we're going to use the present stem, which, because acipio, acipere, acapi, acaptus is a third io conjugation verb. First principal part ends in io, acipio. Second principal part ends in ere, a short ere. Third principal part ends in the letter I, pronounce e. And the fourth ends in an us. Could also end in an aum, like an adjective. It's a participle. Acaptus aum. So it's the present stem of a third conjugation is found by chopping the o off of the first principal part. So acipio, the present stem is acipi. Remember, if your present stem does not end in the letter I, you do not have a third IO conjugation verb. You got something else. We have a third IO conjugation, so put it Acipi, Acipi, Acipi as the base for the present and imperfect and future active voice and for the passive voice. However, for the present passive, chop off the I. Just write Acip. Just write Acip. Okay, so present. You have Acipi, you just add S from O, S, T, mustis, und, second person singular you. So S, we get Acipis, Acipis. You receive, you are receiving, you do receive. Acipis. The passive, star this one, circle it, whatever you do. Make sure you know this one because it's weird, it's odd. You know I'm definitely going to ask about this one on a quiz. So you should have written Acip, not Acipi, ending in an I, Acip. That's why you need to star this one, it's weird. You're going to add eris, E-R-I-S, eris as the ending, not iris. You're going to add ris, but an E before it. So you get Aciperis. Aciperis. That is the weird passive, second person singular for a third IO. Second person singular passive for a third IO, you chop the I off the present stem. Here you would just get Acip, and then you added E-R-I-S for the second person singular. So Aciperis. Aciperis. The translation is, you are received. You are being received. For the imperfect, you have the present stem, Acipi. No weirdness there. Add an E, letter E before the ba, and then the second person singular, S. So you get Acipiebas. Acipiebas. You were receiving. You used to receive. For the passive, exchange that S from the bas with ris, baris. Acipiebaris. Still got an E before the ba. Acipiebaris. You were being received. You used to be received. The future active, do not use bo bis bit. That's the future for first and second conjugation. You want am, es, et, amos, etis, ent endings. Because it's second person singular, you want s. So you wrote the present stem Acipi and then add s. You get Acipies. Acipies. Passive, the English translation, you will receive, you shall receive. And then the passive, Acipi, you do want the present stem Acipi, the whole thing, ending in the letter I, Acipi, and then add eris, ar eris etor, amor emini entor, Acipi eris. For the third conjugation, you had a macron over the E in eris. That macron is still there, it's still valid and active, but you don't have to put it here because you chop the I off the present stem in the present tense to get Aciperis. So there's no danger in mistaking that with the future Acipieris, because the future retains the I, Acipi and then eris. If you want to add the macron in the future on eris, that's fine. The accent still goes there, Acipieris, but you shouldn't confuse it with the present because the future retains the I of the present stem and the present tense does not. I would still star the future like I starred the present and remember the difference between them. Aciperis, Acipieris. The translation of the future passive is you will be received. The perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect active use the perfect stem accep. Third principal part, chop off the I, accep. So you should write accep here, here, and here. The passive uses the fourth principal part, acceptus. And because we're dealing with a singular person, second person singular, we want us and and like a participle. It's an adjective. Acceptus for the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect passive. We're just going to switch out the helping verbs to tell us the tense. The perfect active endings are isti it, imus istis erat. So we want isti, accapisti, accapisti. You received, you have received. Passive, acceptus and then we want the helping verb es, from sum es est, sumus estis sunt, the present tense of sum. So acceptus es, for acceptus es, accepta es, acceptum es. You were received, you have been received. And the ending usa changes depending on the gender of the subject, you. Pluperfect, the perfect stem acep, and then eras, from eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratis, erat. Aceperas, you had received. And the passive acceptus eras, you had been received. The future perfect is acep eris, from ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis, erint, acep eris. You will have received, you will have received. And the passive acceptus eris, from the future ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis, erunt. Acceptus eris, accepta eris, acceptum eris. You will have been received. The imperatives are accipe, second principal part, chop off the re, accipe. Receive, thou, singular, you, receive, do it. For the passive, add the re back on to get the second principal part, accipere. Be received, thou, come on, you, singular person, you, be received, get received. What are you waiting for? The imperative plural active, it's the present stem accipi plus te, accipite, accipite. Receive, ye, come on, y'all, receive. You plural, receive. And the passive, accipi, and then mini, accipimini, accipimini. Be received, ye. Come on, y'all, be received. Optime, number 3. Interfecio, interfecere, interfeci, interfectus, in the third person singular. To kill, killed, killed. I went to kill, I killed, I have killed. Oh no, is that a confession? Absolutely not, officer. So third person singular. Interfecio, first principal part ends in an io, it's a third io. Interfecere, short ere, interfeci, interfectus. Present stem is interfeci, chop the o off the first principal part. Third principal part is interfeci, chop off the I to get the perfect stem interfec. And fourth principal part, interfectus, treated like an adjective. It's a participle, interfectus We're going to write the present stem interfeci for the present, imperfect, and future, active and passive. So interfeci, interfeci, no tricks, no weirdness, interfeci, interfeci. We're going to write the perfect stem interfec for the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect, active only, interfec, interfec. So third principal part with no I at the end, interfec. Then for the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect passive, we're going to write the fourth principal part. Give yourself some room. Interfectus and then an interfectus If it were a plural person, third person plural, we would give it plural endings, interfecti, I, for the masculine, feminine, and neuter. But it's singular, so we'll keep it us, interfectus, We just need to put in helping verbs to tell us the tense. Here we go. Interfeci, and then third person singular. So in the active ost, we want the t ending, mustisunt. So interficit, he, she, it kills. He, she, it is killing, does kill. Oh no, it sounds horrible. In the passive, arestor, we want the tor ending. More, mini, untor to give he, she, it is being killed. That'd be interfecitor. Interfecitor. Interfici and then plus tor. Interfecitor. He, she, it is being killed. Quick, help them. For the imperfect, e before the ba to get interfici and then and then ba and then t for the third person singular he, she, it. Interficiebat. He was killing. He, she, it was killing. He, she, it used to kill. For the passive, interficiebatur. Interficiebatur. E before the ba, exchange the t in bat for batur for the passive. He, she, it was being killed. The being is important, Ben. You need that being. He, she, it was being killed. He, she, it used to be killed. Future, no bobus bit. That's only for the first and second conjugations. We want s, et, amos, etus, et. So we want et, the third person singular, et, found hound. So interfici et, interficiet, different from interficit. He, she, it kills. Interficiet, he, she, it will kill. You can stop them. In the future passive, we want the future passive endings are, eris, ator. We want the ator ending. Amor, emini, antor. We want the ator ending. Interficiator. He, she, it will be killed. Interficiator. He, she, it will be killed. The perfect, pluperfect, future perfect, use the perfect stem interfec. The perfect endings are e isti it. We want the it ending. Imus istus eron. So interfecit, which is different from interficit. Interfecit. He, she, it killed. He, she, it has killed. In the passive, interfectus aum. And then the helping verb is the present tense of sum. Sum es est. We want est. Sumus estus sunt. So interfectus est. Interfecta est. Interfectum est. He, she, it, and the translation he, she, it will depend on the gender of the subject, the one who was killed, who has been killed. So interfectus est is he was killed, he has been killed. Interfecta est is she was killed, she has been killed. And interfectum est would be it was killed, it has been killed. Pluperfect active, interfec plus erat, from eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. Interfecerat, he, she, it had killed. And the passive interfectus aum erat, for interfectus erat, he had been killed. Interfecta erat, she had been killed. And interfectum erat, it had been killed. The future perfect active is interfecero. Interfecero. He, she, it will have killed. And the passive interfectus aum erit. I'm sorry, did I say ero? It's third person singular. So the future perfect active would be interfecerit. He will have killed. And then the passive interfectus aum erit. So interfectus erit. He will have killed. Interfecta erit. She will have been killed. And interfectum erit. It will have been killed. The imperative singular active would be the second principal part, chop off the re, interfice. Interfice. Kill thou, singular, kill. Passive, add the re back on, interficere, get killed thou. Oh, it sounds terrible, don't do that. Be killed thou. No, don't. For the imperative plural active, present stem interfici plus te, interficite. Kill ye, my army of the undead. Kill. And then the passive interfici plus mini. Interficimini. Be killed, ye. No, don't do it. Get killed. Optime. We already did the first person plural. Now we're moving on to number 5, Konjekio, second person plural. It is Konjekio, Konjekere, Konjeki, Konjektus. If it helps you, you can add that tail to the consonantal I to make it a J. Konjeki, Konjeki, and then Konjektus, Konjectus, like conjecture. Means to not just yakio, yakare, yeki, yaktus, to throw, but to do it with some force behind it. So to put your back into it. So cum ikio, to really do it completely, to hurl, to cast with the force. I want to hurl, I hurled, I have hurled. Okay, second person plural, so the ye, y'all translation for the English. In the active, O-S-T, was tis. We're going to have lots of tis in the active. In the passive, ra, ris, tor, more, mini, lots of mini, opposite of goofy, untors. So here we have the present stem being of this third IO conjugation verb. First principal part, chop off the O, we get koniki. So write koniki for the present imperfect future, active and passive. Koniki. We add tis to get konikatus, konikatus. Ye hurl, ye are hurling, ye do hurl. Passive, konike, and then mini, konikimini, konikimini, to get ye are being hurled, or just ye are hurled. The being's not that important here, Ben. The imperfect present stem koniki, add the e before the ba, and then the second person plural tis ending. Konikiebatis, konikiebatis. And then ye were hurling, ye used to hurl. The passive, konikiebamini, konikiebamini, e before the ba, and then change the tis to mini, konikiebamini. Ye were being hurled, y'all used to hurl. Sorry, y'all used to be hurled. It was happening to you in the passive. No bobus bit in the future. We use es et, amos etis, etis, etis ent. So koniki and then etis, konikietis, different from konicitus, konikietis. Ye will hurl, ye shall hurl. The passive, exchange that etis with amini from ar, eris, etor, amor, amini, antor. Koniki amini, different from the present konikimini, konikiamini. Ye will be hurled. It will happen to you. Ye will be hurled. The perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect use the perfect stem konjek, third principal part, chop off the I, konjek. And then the passive uses the fourth principal part, konjektus aum, but it is a plural person. So change us to the letter I, konjekti, a to the feminine plural ae, pronounce I, konjekti, and to the neuter plural ending a, letter A, to get konjekta. To get konjekti, I, a. So write konjekti, I, a for all these. Konjekti, I, a, konjekti, I, a, konjekti, I, a, because our person is plural. And our helping verbs will be plural as well. So the perfect active, konjek, and then the perfect endings are e, isti, it, imus, istis, we want the istis ending, konjek, istis, ye hurled, ye have hurled. In the passive, konjekti for the masculine, konjekti for the feminine, konjekta for the neuter, and then the present of sum. Sum es est, sumus estis sunt. So konjekti I, a, estis for konjekti estis, konjekti estis, konjekta estis. Ye were hurled, ye have been hurled. Pluperfect. The helping verb, the endings are eram, eras, erat, eramus, eratus, erant. We want eratus. So, konjeki eratus. Ye had hurled. And then the passive, konjekti eratus. Konjekti eratus. Ye had been hurled. The future perfect is konjekeritis, from ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis, erent, konjekeritis. Ye will have hurled. And the passive, konjekti eritis, ye will have been hurled. The imperative singular is konike, hurl thou. In the passive, konikere, same as the second principal part, konikere, be hurled thou. Come on, you're just sitting there. The imperative plural active is the present stem koniki, and then add te, konikite. Hurl ye. Come on, guys, hurry up, hurl. Throw that stuff with force. Konikite. And the passive, konikimini. Konikimini. Be hurled ye. Come on, y'all, get hurled. And finally, number 6, facio. Facio, facere, faci, factus. I want to make, I made, I have made. It can also mean to do. So I want to do, I did, I have done. Notice it doesn't have a passive. The passive of facio is a different verb you will learn at a later time. So we're only going to deal with the active voice here. Active in Latin and translate into English. Third person plural. Facio is a third IO. Facio, facere, faci, factus. Its present stem is faci. Chop the O off the first principal part. So you write faci for the present, imperfect, and future. And its perfect stem is fec, F-E-C. So you write that for the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect. You can tell factus is the fourth principal part and would be the passive if it had one. Guess what? It still is. But that's a different verb for a different day. But keep factus in mind, of course. So faci as the present stem, third person plural, O-S-T, mustis unt. So it's not facint, F-A-C-I-N-T, facint. We add a U before the N-T, so we get faciunt, faciunt. They make or they do. Imperfect adds an E before the ba to get faciebant, faciebant. They were making, they were doing, they used to make, they used to do. The future, no bobus bit, but ames et, amus etus et. So facient, facient. They will make, they will do. The perfect adds e isti it, imus istis erunt, erunt to the fec stem, the fec perfect stem to get fec erunt, fec erunt. They made, they have made, they did, they have done. Pluperfect, fec is the stem and then add erant, fec erant. They had made, they had done. Future perfect adds erent, erent, from ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis, erent to fec, the perfect stem. To get fec erent, they will have made, they will have done. The imperative singular, well, facio is one of the 4 irregulars. So dic, duc, fac, and fer. Here's fac. So F-A-C, fac, is the irregular imperative for facio. Means make or do thou in the singular. The plural is facite, facite, present stem plus te, facite, totally normal. Make ye or do ye. Optime, very well done. That is the end of exercise A. You are now ready to move on to chapter 18's exercise B. Volete omnes.